don't move anybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. Hi, thank you so much for coming. Oh my gosh, I can't move. And I'm kind of dramatic and like to move a lot, so this will be a test for me. Okay. Hi, I'm Hana, Dansky. I'm the Executive Director of Boulder Food Rescue. Thank you all so much for coming to this event today, all day. We're going to go ahead and get started with the program as people continue to file in. So Boulder Food Rescue started in the fall of 2011 as a way to address an instantaneous need that we saw in our community. Food was going to waste, people were hungry, and we wanted to figure out a way to solve those problems, to address them right now, today. So we asked ourselves why, and a few of the co-founders and our current board president did a little research, and this is with Community Food Share, the larger food bank in the area, and they showed that there was enough food going to waste in Boulder and Boone County to feed all food insecure people in Boulder and Boone County simply off of food waste. And so we kind of looked at that and saw that the food redistribution system had some gaps. But one of them is that by the time it takes to take food from a grocery store down to a warehouse, sort it, and then redistribute it, 3 to 7 days might pass. And some of that produce, the healthier foods, the fruits and vegetables, will perish. Also, there's time gaps. We pick up Monday through Friday in the morning, for example. And yeah, there's these basically gaps in this food redistribution model, so this produce is going to waste at grocery stores. So what we did is take that and we developed a model to address those gaps. And so we go straight from the grocery store to a recipient, something that will go bad in 3 days, will get there in 30 minutes and can be used right away. Also, we said we would pick up every day of the week, all throughout the day. Holidays too, why not? If the grocery store is open and throwing away food, we will be there. And so we still do that now. And we last we said, well, food's going to waste simply a couple blocks away from where people need it. It would be really silly of us to drive cars. So let's use bikes, and we'll try to bike as much as possible. On the food insecurity side of things, we started donating to food pantries, soup kitchens, day shelters, kind of the traditional places that you think of that serve food. And we started looking at some of the barriers to access food still. And we still donate to food pantries like Harvest of Hope and EFA and day shelters like the Bridge House Community Table, but we also take food directly into the community rooms of low-income elderly homes or family units or daycares or preschools to skip that step as well. And then we drop food directly to the community room, and the residents themselves design essentially a grocery program to address the needs of the people that live there. And so every one of those grocery programs look a little different because they're completely resident driven. Some of them have people that take food back to a kitchen and then they sort it and then they redistribute it later. Some just put it all out for people to come down. Some people have coffee and tea. Some people make their neighbors' recipes. It's all different because it's all completely driven by the people that live in these zones. So that's the system that we're kind of operating in today. That's our model of food rescue. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of it. We have about 150 volunteers at any active time. If you're a volunteer for Boulder Food Rescue, you want to raise your hand? I know that there's some out there. Thank you all for doing that. Because of you all, we are able to do 10 to 15 pickups a day, every day of the week, which means we can rescue around 30 to 40,000 pounds a month. And in just 3.5 years, we've been able to redistribute 850,000 pounds of food, 89% by bike. So that's awesome. That's what we're doing really well. But if we think about it, and we go back to that original question, food's going to waste and people are hungry, why? The reason why isn't because there's a broken food redistribution system. The reason why is because there's a broken food system, and thus a broken economic system. And so we as Boulder Food Rescue are very much working off of this broken system. It's like if somebody has a disease and that disease produces a rash, and that rash is really swollen and painful and irritated, and we go up to that person and we say, oh, I'm going to put some ointment on that rash and I'm going to make it feel better, that's absolutely a good thing to do. We should ease their pain. But if we only do that, then that disease still exists and it will continue to spread. And we're not actually taking a look at the root cause of what's going on. And so, as Boulder Food Rescue, we think it's absolutely imperative that we as food rescue organizations, as nonprofits, as individuals, take a look at some of these systemic issues that cause these injustices that create our reason for existing in the first place. And that's a big piece of what we're doing here today. One way that Boulder Food Rescue has decided to do that is through education. And so we're here today to gather to look at the food system, the economic system, the historical structures that have created these oppressions that exist in the first place. We want to look at our own internalized oppressions and the way that we as individuals act in the world towards other oppressed people. And that's why we're gathered today. And that's a hard conversation to have. So I want to thank you all for being here and having this hard conversation with us, because I think it's so important to use today and everything that we're learning as a catalyst for our momentum forward. And so thank you for being here at the Ford Food Summit. We have partnered with the INVST Community Leadership Program, which is a program at CU, for the second year in a row to put this on. And they are going to tell you a little bit more about what they do and why they chose this topic and what our goals for the summit are. But first, I'm going to turn over the mic to Rhonda, our board president, to make a quick announcement, and then we'll pass on. So thank you all so much. And thank you to all the speakers as well for being here and teaching us things.
Thank you for being here. This is weird. Yeah. So I just want to mention, my name is Rhonda Hageman. I'm the president of the FR board. And as she also said, we have 150 volunteers, and keeping that pipeline going all the time takes some effort. So we are always in our recruiting mode to keep volunteers. And one of the areas where we need volunteers is on the board. Okay, so if you have been volunteering for BFR and you want to do more, I hope you'll consider joining the BFR board. If you are not a volunteer for BFR, I hope you after today will consider becoming one or even giving a donation. Okay, we need money. So join the board, become a volunteer, donate your money, donate your time, whatever you've got. All right, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Okay, can you hear me? Is this good? Okay, cool. So my name is Susan, and I'm one of the CU-INVST students. INVST is a 2-year program at CU that focuses on social and environmental justice and also leadership skills. So the program consists of classes on campus and also outside of campus. So we go on summer trips, and during your first year of INVST, you have an internship to get experience in the community. In your second year of INVST, you do a SOUL project, service-oriented learning. And so this is our SOUL project. We are second year students in INVST. And we took the feedback from last year's project, and we talked to attendees who came last year and organizations who participated last year to see what worked well and ways that we could improve on the summit. So we hope that you enjoy, and we're really glad that you're here today. So now Jackson's going to talk about the goals that we have set for today.
All right. Hopefully I won't fill your ears with this mic. So my name is Jackson, and as Susan just mentioned, we've worked really hard to bring this summit to life, and we have not done it without intention. From the very beginning, we have incorporated goals into the structure of the summit and into the sessions that we have today that reflect Boulder Food Rescue's mission as an organization, and also reflect what we as students have learned in the classroom about social injustice issues. So jumping right into it, one of our main goals for today is for you, our attendees, to leave with a better understanding of how food insecurity and race intersect. It's a huge topic, it's kind of scary, and it's really complicated. And we know that some of you are being introduced to this topic for the first time. But what we really want is for you to walk away with just the ability to see how systemic injustice as it pertains to food insecurity and race unfolds around you every day. And that's all we're asking. And with that knowledge, inspiration to act on it. This is also a networking event. We hope that you and the organizations here can network with one another who are dedicated to working towards food justice. There are great organizations at the back tabling for you who would love to share what they do with you. We also have a networking event sheet that has a more extensive list of all the organizations here today. And yeah, I expect you all to be sitting next to your 5 closest friends from Boulder Food Rescue or Denver Food Rescue or any of the other organizations here today, and contemplating about how we're going to change the world. And then finally, the Forward Food Summit this year is about growth, not just in the number of attendees, but also in the Boulder Food Rescue community. We want to grow as an organization, and that requires money. So this is a fundraiser for Boulder Food Rescue. So if you're interested, if you're willing, able, please go look at one of our pledge cards or talk to one of our volunteers about how you can donate. Oh, and one more thing is, as you leave, whenever you leave, please fill one of our feedback forms. That would really help us improve this year to year. And without further ado, I will introduce Norma Johnson to the front to read some wonderful poetry for us to start off the day.
Ooh, it filled in here. Great. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Ooh, this is really wonderful. I'm very inspired to be here and to learn about everything that you're doing. You have a wonderful program ahead of you today. So, my name is Norma Johnson, and I am a poetic storyteller, and also a healer. So I consider everything that I do, the basis of it, to be about healing and bringing forth more vitality to our world. When Jackson said race and food insecurity, that it's huge and complicated and scary, well, yeah, it is. Living here, I live here in Boulder, and you know, over and over and over again, I really came to realize how much my white friends don't understand what race, how race is entwined in everything that we are. It's a critical operating system. And unless you start learning about it, the changes that we desire to make so much are going to have a real hard time happening, because it's like that rash that was spoken about. We're just putting ointment on it. So at one point, I had an incident happen, being followed in a store, which is not unusual. And I had a friend with me who was white. And afterwards, we came out of the store, and I said, do you ever have to think about being followed in the store? And she looked at me like, what are you talking about? You know? And I just had like this whole, emotional incident that happened. And so I think it bubbled up a lot of stuff in me. And that night I couldn't sleep. And I woke up. I think a lot of things were coming to my head, a lot of experiences, a lot of hitting walls. And I asked, I said, I need some words to speak this. I need a way to say this so that my white friends can hear, because it's not your experience. And so it began with this poem that I'm about to share with you. And since I've developed a whole collection of poems for my white friends. So, with love. I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you about my real life, the one that haunts me most days. It comes in moments at a time, triggered by a look, an attitude, a sensing of superiority, of blatant ignorance, of good-meaning intention, dripping crap down my face. I didn't tell you about the look they gave me when I opened my door and they saw black me standing there, their mouths agape, their thoughts running loudly through my head. I didn't tell you about being followed in the store and how I obediently kept my hands and my bag in plain sight. I didn't tell you how quickly they look away when I catch them staring at me in the restaurant and standing in the supermarket line. And I didn't tell you about the clerk who pretended the white woman had been standing at the counter before I had and waited on her first. I didn't tell you how I have to take a really deep, long breath every time before I walk into a room full of white people. I didn't tell you that in the meeting, the classroom, and the workshop, when the subject of diversity comes up, they all look at me as if I am the spokesperson for the whole nation of people of color. And I didn't tell you that when diversity isn't mentioned and needs to be, I'm too often the one who has to point it out. I didn't tell you how many times white people say to me, "You're different in one way or another," because they felt comfortable with me, and that didn't fit their mold of what they figured a black person was like. I didn't tell you how disappointed that white man was when, after eagerly questioning me, found out that I was not the exotic Nubian he had fantasized, but just another Negro girl from New Jersey. I didn't tell you about the white woman, a stranger who chose out of all the white people around us to sit next to me and proceed to tell me all about her favorite black performers and her black friends and how this country needs to take integration to the next level, so I could see how her life was an example of that. I didn't tell you about the anger I stuffed down when that dreadlocked young white boy gave me a high five and called me sister. I didn't tell you about the white woman I passed at twilight in the park, who tensed her body, tightened the grip on her purse, and walked a large, curved detour past me. I didn't tell you that my stomach clenches when I see a police car, because it means I may not be safe. I didn't tell you that your world is not mine, and that we are virtual worlds apart. I didn't tell you that while you can somehow think of yourself as multi-ethnically expansive because you have a black friend, I, meanwhile, just still stay black. I didn't tell you that while you can walk boldly into any place you choose, I always have to consider where I am, who I'm with, and how I'm going to affect people. I didn't tell you that being a good person and being clueless can come in the same package. And I didn't tell you about the comments you made take a lifetime of explaining how you bought into the system that keeps us all in our place. I didn't tell you about my day because I was taught not to. And you were taught not to even consider it. I didn't tell you about my day because then I would have to live it all over again. And I have to save that for tomorrow. So I hope you take these words to heart and take them with you as you move throughout your day and think about things at many levels that affect us all. And something else I want to encourage you to do is talk to each other. If there's somebody sitting next to you, because what we're talking about is inclusion, exclusion. And it's built into so many things and ways that we think and operate. And so we have so much opportunity today to kick it in the butt. So I'm counting on you to do that. Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Nathan. First off, I want to say thank you, Norma, once again for reading that poetry. It's a great way to start off the day. I also want to thank all of our sponsors, KGNU, First United Methodist Church, the Colorado Trust, the Boulder Bridge House, the CU Environmental Center, Flatirons Coffee, Conscious Coffee, the Coffee Ride, Naturally Boulder, and Safeway. So just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. First off, if you have any questions throughout the day, find one of us, or there's a number of volunteers in BFR shirts. They should be able to answer most of your questions. There's plenty of coffee at the back. There's more food. Just help yourself whenever you need to take a break in the sessions. Come up, grab something to eat. Bathrooms are way at the back in between this room and the other room. If those ones are full, you can walk up the stairs, and there's more bathrooms sort of from this main street entrance. And then Jackson already mentioned this, but if you end up leaving early, make sure to fill out our feedback survey so that we can incorporate your feedback into next year's conference. And then lastly, just remember that the hub has been really generous in letting us use the space, and we are guests here, so please clean up after yourselves. Make sure not to leave a mess anywhere. So as of right now, nope. All right, so we are missing one of our first speakers. So everybody will be in this room with Beverly Grant for community weaving. But before that happens, I would like to invite Marcus up here to say a few words about Denver Homeless Out Loud.
Good morning. I'm super excited. I'm super excited to be back here this year. Last year I was here, I sat on a panel because I'm part of Denver Catholic Worker, and we do a food distribution program, and so I sat on a panel with a woman from Harvest of Hope and some folks from the same cafe, and we talked about food distribution, and I tried to stress the importance of relationship and said, as we approach these systemic injustices like food insecurity, how important actually knowing the people you're feeding, knowing the people you're sharing a meal with, home-cooked meals, how important it is that there's a personal touch and that people don't get treated like a number, whatever Today I'm wearing a different hat. Today I'm really not prepared because I'm part of a group called Denver Homeless Out Loud, and after coming last year, I saw so much energy in this room around food insecurity, and I saw so much energy around creating a positive change. And back home, I do homeless advocacy, right? And so I wanted to draw the connection between these different injustices of food insecurity, race, economics, housing, yada yada. And so I submitted a proposal knowing that I didn't think I could be here today for someone else in Denver Homeless Out Loud to come and talk about giving a damn about the rights of the people you're sharing food with. Now, Denver Homeless Out Loud is a community organization. We don't call ourselves a service provider organization, and I say that on purpose because a lot of times the attitude of service providers is we want to fix a problem with the person, whereas I feel like community organizations are about finding the strengths in community and finding ways that we can fix our whole situation together. So Denver Homeless Out Loud is composed mostly of homeless people or formerly homeless people. I myself was on the streets for a little bit, and I live with homeless people now at the Denver Catholic Worker. So the person who was signed up to speak this morning, it was a rough night last night in Denver, and I'm not sure what happened to him. He's homeless himself, and I haven't heard from him this morning. He's a much better speaker than I am. But I just want to tell you all, first, why our work is related to this and what we're doing. Our mission is to create an avenue in which homeless people's experiences are voiced into the political arena, and we believe you don't go to court without a lawyer. You shouldn't make homeless policy without homeless people present. So we do a lot of outreach and a lot of surveys across Colorado to find out what is actually happening on the streets. And I just wanted to share a few figures with you. We just released a report in celebration of surveying 500 homeless folks all across Colorado to find out what their experiences have been with living on the streets and being criminalized. And one of the striking statistics is out of 500 folks, 22% of people in Colorado living on the streets have been harassed, cited, or arrested for sharing or distributing food. More and more cities, this has gotten a lot of attention. In Florida, they passed an anti-food sharing law, and a 90-year-old man named Arnold Abbott, he's a veteran and a pastor. He refused to obey that law, so he kept sharing food and he kept getting arrested, and created so much political will that the city wound up overturning that law, repealing it. So that's a celebration for us. But 60 cities across the country have proposed anti-food sharing laws. Boulder and Denver do not have anti-food sharing laws as of today. However, certain areas you do have to have a permit in order to have a large gathering with food. And so in Denver, at Food Not Bombs, at different places, we call them picnics because then we don't have to have a permit. We're just having a picnic with 150 people. But this is just a growing trend of criminalizing poor people. Now, if you study homeless history at all, you know that there's a direct correlation between federal housing dollars between 78 and 83, they slashed 78% of the low-income housing budget in America, and within the next 10 years, homelessness tripled. It doubled again in the 90s, and so in 1980, we had 100,000 homeless people counted by the U.S. government. To date, we have 3.5 million. 1.2 of those are children in schools, counted by the Department of Education. Now, the response would be the logical, reasonable response would be to make sure that people could afford a place to live, right? That wages would be higher, right? If you make minimum wage, work full time, you make about $1,300 in Colorado before taxes, whereas in Denver, one-bedroom apartment averages $1,255. So when we talk about solutions to ending homelessness, we have to quit with the behavioral and mental health crap that stigmatizes homeless people into saying that every homeless person is a mentally ill, drunk veteran on the side of the street with a cardboard sign. In Denver, I don't know the statistics of Boulder, but in Denver, 54% of homeless folks are families with children. You can't put those diagnoses on homeless children. 6-year-olds aren't mentally ill veterans with cardboard signs. But the overarching trend, instead of refunding federal housing dollars, our low-income housing budget in America is half of what it was in 1978. We've lost over half the stock of low-income housing that we had in 1978, and our budget is half of what it was in 1978. But instead, cities are turning to the American old tradition of criminalization. This keeps coming up in America, from Jim Crow to Anti-Okie laws to sundown town to ugly laws. In the 1860s, they passed a law in many states called the Ugly Beggar Law, which said that any diseased, mutilated, or handicapped person cannot be seen in public or be subject to a fine. The last one of those laws wasn't overturned until 1972. And that's recent history, right? But thank God those things have been overturned. Thank God they've been found unconstitutional. But the little demon keeps popping its head up now. Now we call it quality of life crimes. Now we call it the broken windows policing. Now we call it camping bans and sit-lie ordinances. In Boulder, the city of Boulder put a man on trial here for using a T-shirt to cover himself. And the argument has always been, the police are here to connect people with services. Well, that doesn't make sense because there's not enough services. In Denver, we have 14,000 homeless people and about 1,000 shelter beds. But that argument is mute, because to me, you don't say, once we get enough services, then we can take away people's rights, right? Right to sit, right to sleep, right to lie down. What we have on our hands today is the new sundown town, because if I can't sit in public, that's called loitering, if I don't have any money, if I can't sleep, then the only mode of operation is to walk, right? That's a sundown town. You better be up by dark. So, I'm sorry, I'm running long, but we just released a new report because we have a bill in the House of Representatives called the Right to Rest Act, which began being heard last Wednesday, and it'll be heard again in the House legislature April 27th at 1:30. That law would protect people's rights to sit, sleep, lie down, rest in public spaces without fear of harassment. It would legalize people being able to sleep in their cars, in illegally parked place with permission of the owner, the right to share food in public without fear of harassment, and the right to reasonable expectation of privacy so the police can stop throwing away homeless people's stuff. Over 80% of homeless people that we've talked to have said that the police have stolen their things, and only 19% of those people have said they got their stuff back. So, so I just want to challenge you all to these topics of food insecurity are so important, and I'm so thankful to the organizers here who have said, you know, food insecurity is not the only injustice. We need to talk about race also. Race touches everywhere, and so do other injustices, economic status, blah, blah, blah. But we need to put these bad laws to bed for good. So we have a town hall in next Friday down in Colorado Springs, a Red Line Art Gallery. You all are welcome to come. We're going to be talking about how to build a movement to end criminalization. And that's the kickoff of a national conference where we're flying people in from Washington, D.C., Oregon, California, all over the place. We have 4 states running the same bill. And then August 27th at 1:30, our bill will be heard again. You all are welcome. Come talk to me and find out more. And thank you all for being here and having me.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Beverly Grant up. Beverly Grant is with Better Green Marketplace. Beverly is a Denver native. She has been an entrepreneur for 22 years, and this is her most recent business venture. So Better Green Marketplace started in 2011 in the historic Five Points neighborhood. This market is founded on 3 principles: food literacy, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility. The mission of this farmers market focuses on broadening food access, providing food and nutrition literacy, supporting local business and neighborhood economy, showcasing neighborhood arts, history, and culture, shaping food policy, defining new food infrastructure and new agribusiness opportunities, and directly impacting the top 4 health disparities, which are cancer, diabetes, obesity, and heart disease, through innovation, education, interaction, and demonstration. The mission of this market also includes designing and installing edible, medicinal landscapes and yard farming in the northeast portion of Denver's food desert neighborhoods. So, without further ado, Beverly Grant.